This video will be used to illustrate the work shift rule under the Federal Hours of Service Regulation. It is important to note that the driver must also be in compliance with the daily rule. A day is a 24-hour period starting at a time designated by the carrier. In a day, a driver must have 10 hours off-duty time. In a day, a driver cannot drive more than 13 hours, and in a day, a driver cannot drive after accumulating 14 hours of on-duty time. The driver must also be in compliance with the cycle rule. The carrier must designate a cycle for the driver to follow. There are 2 cycles available, a 7-day cycle or a 14-day cycle. A driver on a 7-day cycle cannot drive after having been on duty for 70 hours in the cycle. A driver on a 14-day cycle cannot drive after having been on duty for 120 hours in the cycle. Regardless of the cycle, all drivers must have taken a period of at least 24 consecutive hours off duty at some point in the preceding 14 days. Both of these rules are explained in the online educational material. This video will not review the sleepover split provision. Sleepover splits are also explained in more detail in another section of the online educational material. In order to understand the work shift rule, it is important to understand what constitutes a work shift. The work shift is a period of time in between off-duty periods that are at least 8 consecutive hours long. In this example, the driver's work shift would start at 4 a.m. when they report for duty. The driver's work shift would end at 7 p.m. once they start another 8 consecutive hours of off-duty time. The driver and carrier must monitor 3 different time rules throughout the work shift to ensure that the driver does not drive in violation of the regulation. Driving time is the time spent driving a commercial motor vehicle. On-duty time includes both driving time as well as on-duty time other than driving time. This could include inspecting the vehicle, securing the load, or waiting at an inspection facility for the vehicle to be inspected. Elapsed time includes all time during the work shift, driving time, on-duty time other than driving, and even off-duty time. When a driver has driven 13 hours in a work shift, the driver must stop and take a period of 8 consecutive hours off before driving again. When a driver has accumulated 14 hours of on-duty time in a work shift, the driver must not drive a commercial vehicle until they take a period of 8 consecutive hours of off-duty time. And after 16 hours has elapsed in a work shift, the driver must not drive and must take a period of 8 consecutive hours of off-duty time before they drive a commercial vehicle. As previously mentioned, both the driver and carrier are responsible for ensuring the driver complies with the regulation by monitoring 3 different rules throughout the work shift. To illustrate this, we will use 3 different stopwatches to monitor the different duty status times. Driving stopwatch will only advance when the driver is in the driving status. The on-duty stopwatch will advance when the driver is either driving or on duty other than driving. And the elapsed time stopwatch will advance for any duty status throughout the work shift. In this example, the driver reports for duty at 1 a.m. after taking a period of at least 8 consecutive hours of off duty. This is when the work shift starts. The driver spends 1 hour in on-duty other than driving time status, which could include inspecting the vehicle, loading the vehicle, or securing the cargo. At 2 a.m., the driver drives commercial vehicle for a period of 2 hours. You will note during this time that all 3 watches are advancing. At 4 a.m., the driver goes back to on-duty time other than driving for a period of 1 hour. During this time, the on-duty and elapsed clocks will advance. At 5 a.m., the driver goes into the off-duty status for a period of 2 hours. During this time, the only clock that will advance will be the elapsed time clock. At 7 a.m., the driver goes to on-duty time other than driving for a period of 1 hour. At 8 a.m., the driver drives a commercial vehicle, and again, all 3 clocks will advance during this hour. At 9 a.m., the driver takes a 2-hour off-duty period. During this 2 hours, the elapsed clock will be the only one advancing. At 11 a.m., the driver resumes driving for a period of 2 hours. Again, it is important to note that if any of the clocks reach the maximum, the driver must stop. At 1 p.m., the driver takes a 1-hour off-duty period. 2 p.m., the driver goes from off-duty to on-duty time other than driving for a period of 1 hour. At 3 p.m., the driver goes to the driving duty status for a period of 2 hours. At 5 p.m., you will note that the elapsed clock has reached 16 hours. That is the maximum. At that point, the driver must stop driving. The driver will then be required to go off duty for a period of at least 8 consecutive hours. When that period is completed, the driver will start a new shift and the clocks will reset to 0.